Hello, so it is part two to this readathon, and as you can imagine, the Tuesday following Monday night, I had a really sleepy start. I don't think I got up, I think I got up like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's pretty late than what I usually do nowadays, and I spent the entirety of my morning actually editing last week's vlog and posting it. I wanted to actually try to get the Hocus Pocus one out this week as well. I don't know if that's going to be possible. And I do have a Barnes and Noble like shopping vlog that I eventually want to post as well, but we're going to see how that goes. For rest of that Tuesday, I did some vague unpacking, and then we later, my husband and I later went to the store to pick up ingredients to actually start Christmas baking. And that ended up being like a 2-hour trip. The stores were pretty crazy. Not only did we go to the grocery stores, but we actually also went to Home Goods. I ended up just returning those curtains I wasn't enamored with, and instead of those curtains, I actually got these throw pillows. We originally had these gray ones, and I think these bright yellow ones actually give a nice pop of color. So after editing for like 3 hours and then unpacking for a little bit and then going to the store for a couple hours, I eventually went, you know what? That was enough adulting for today, and played Animal Crossing for the rest of the night, and then I went to bed. Yesterday was just actually a full day of work, and while I was at work, I did start and finish the prompt for Vixen. Read a book with a fox on the cover. I did read The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. That is the actual title. I remember it now because that's actually how the boy starts meeting these characters. I started it and finished it while I was at work. The overall concept is like this little boy first meets a mole, and then they kind of like start walking and hanging out together. And then we eventually meet the fox, and then we eventually meet the horse. They were pretty much just quick little panels of encouragement. At one point, like for example, the mole at one point goes, the older moles that I know wish they hadn't listened to their fears and more to their dreams. And like stuff like that. It was very sweet, very encouraging. The art style was fun in itself. It was kind of like this scribbly aesthetic. However, the font, it matched the aesthetic of what this graphic novel was and completely worked as a whole. The downside, like the font was a little hard to read at times. So in the end, I actually rated this 4 out of 5 stars. So now I actually have 25 points for this readathon. So we're starting to get somewhere. And when I got home yesterday, I actually put together my coffee table and this little end table here. And oh my god, I've had enough of putting these flat pack things together. I find them, in theory, they're easy enough, but I have to like rearrange a bunch of pieces and do it twice before I can actually wrap my head around it. But at this point, I'm pretty much unpacked. All I have to do is hang stuff, like put a couple things on the walls and hang the ornaments on my tree, and that's pretty much it. We're pretty much officially moved in at this point. And today was a snow day. I didn't go into work because we actually ended up getting a nor'easter, and the news last night kept saying that we were expecting to get like 1.5 feet of snow today. I haven't checked the weather at all today. I was only checking it to see how bad the storm was going to be, to see like, oh, do I have a chance of not going into work today? And I'm really surprised administration gave us the day off. Normally it's like pulling teeth having administration like close the entire building, but they called it last night by 7 o'clock. They're like, yeah, we're closing the building down, no one's coming in. I'm like, okay. And now and since then I haven't checked the weather because frankly I don't care. I didn't have to go into work today, and I'll see how bad the snow is going to be tomorrow when I do have to go into work. So today was a rather slow day. I spent the morning playing Animal Crossing, and I did some hanging. I did hang a couple of stuff only to realize that I've ran out of like the command strips that I need to actually hang the items. I'm not supposed to hang nails into the walls, and so I'm supposed to use these command hooks, and I ran out of them, so I need to get more of those. But at this point, I'm actually going to start baking. I wanted to give a quick little wrap up of what I've done so far this week since I haven't done that yet. So let's get baking. Oh, it's really funny. So I've started getting things together to start baking, and I pulled out some cookie cutters. So I originally only planned on making some cherry nut bread, some cranberry nut bread, oatmeal cookies and peanut butter cookies. And I realized that I would still have some stuff left over to make some sugar cookies. I was like, excellent, I just really need cookie cutters and I can make some sugar cookies. At Stop and Shop and at Target, we just could not find cookie cutters. Eventually I asked someone, it's like, well, we have this little end cap and what you see is what we have, unfortunately. So, in this, what I was able to find, a gnome head cookie cutter and llama. So we're gonna embrace the spirit of Christmas with some llama cookies this time around. Clearly the song got it wrong. We did have Dominic the Christmas donkey, but this time we're gonna have Larry the Christmas llama.
One eternity later.
Well, hello. So the last time I checked in was the 17th. It is now the 24th. Clearly a full week has gone by, so this is just wrapping up a week that y'all haven't seen. So the last time I checked in, I did talk about having read Vixen, like the prompt for Vixen, which was the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse. And I was grateful to finally have done that. And then, of course, was setting up to bake for the evening. That took forever. I think that ended up taking me like 4 or 5 hours. That was definitely a long evening. I'm glad to have done it because now we have treats for the week. We did eventually have to like cool it on eating like cookies every day because I feel like had we not stopped, we almost wouldn't have had anything for today because it is Christmas Eve, so we wouldn't have had any treats for today. And my week was just busy like getting Christmas stuff done. Like the next day I finally sat down and went through all my different cards. I eventually like had to put up an alarm saying, hey, a week till Christmas is coming up, get these cards done. So we got them done, sat down. I think I cranked them all out in one evening, and the next day just brought them over to the post office. There was one card that I eventually did have to wait until like a couple days ago, simply because I didn't realize the post office was going to close early on a Saturday, and so I had to go somewhere else for stamps, and thankfully like the CVS nearby had them, but I had a card that was meant to go out to Canada and I couldn't remember how many stamps I would need to just throw it into the mailbox. I found out later I would need at least 3. I would be overpaying for it, but at least I would have been able to still like mail it out. But it's good to know for next time. I did take a few days to like kind of relax and just play Animal Crossing because honestly things have been crazy hectic here and you guys have seen it. Trying to completely unpack, trying to make sure Christmas stuff is done. I needed a break because I knew for a fact I was going to burn out if I didn't. So I enjoyed some Animal Crossing and I did just squeeze some reading while I had some like quiet time at work. But the biggest thing was making sure the tree got put up, and we did that with the decorum of an adult that you would expect from us.
It's French. Dave. Hey, Bobby, I'll tell you what. I need you to go on back to work. Really?
You ever hear of a man named Joe Carruthers?
Don't ring a bell. Should I have?
Uncle Joey's treehouse?
Uncle Joey? Are you kidding? They never get old. They always stay new. Those 3 little words, please and thank you. Hey, hey.
Clearly something my husband enjoyed and fully, is excited for the next time we do it. But I guess like the main reason I haven't necessarily been vlogging is because the town that I moved to is notorious for having hard water, and because this apartment remained empty for so long, when we moved in there was like a lot of calcium deposits in the toilet, and there was like these dark rings around the faucets. I knew the faucets would be easy enough to take care of, but it was the toilet. I've never seen it so bad. It was so bad, like it was at least a centimeter thick, and it went up halfway up the water line, and at this point I've emptied a full bottle and a half of CLR, this fancy toilet cleaner that's specifically for that. I went through an entire bottle of that, and now I'm using white vinegar because I've read somewhere online that could possibly help. And I've just been slowly chipping away at it. The goal is to really finally clean this toilet like pristine by Christmas. But we're going to see if that Christmas miracle is going to come out of nowhere. There's still time. There's still hope. But I would very much like to have a very clean toilet in time for my parents to see it. Granted, like, I know it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. I know it is not a big deal. But I don't like the look of it, and it looks like that I don't clean my toilet. So definitely a bit of a rant and unnecessary to a booktube reading vlog, but yes, I've been waging war against my toilet. And now we're all caught up, at least life-wise. Let's actually talk about the stuff that I did read this week. Because I did read. I got through a bunch of prompts this week. All right, like I said before, I did get through Vixen, which is that book of poetry that I really enjoyed. I thought it was very sweet and very encouraging, and that was a full 25 points. The next thing I read, I know I kind of read these two things kind of around the same time. One was Snug by Katana Comics, and this was for the Dasher prompt, like read a one-word title. And this was really cute. This was just a series of panels of like, oh, what it's like dating my best friends. Very cute. And then some of them I found, to be incredibly relatable. It was actually very easy to imagine these scenarios that's actually me and my husband. I ended up rating this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. So that was Dasher. So that was 15 points. And the next thing I did read was Lost Cats, a true story of love, desperation, and GPS technology by Caroline Paul. And this actually, it's basically this lady got into an accident. She broke her leg, and while she was on the mend, her cat disappeared for a month, and it just eventually came back. And since she had nothing better to do because she was, trying to heal from this really bad break, she decided that her time would be well spent trying to figure out where her cat went. She did get a GPS. She even got classes on how to learn to speak to her animal, and went as far as seeking the services of a pet psychic. The author did write in a funny, quirky style that I vaguely enjoyed, and you have to be a cat person to really appreciate her jokes about being a cat lady. And then I love cats. I wish I could have a cat. So I was able to understand some of her jokes, but there are times where I went, lady, you clearly have too much money that you're just throwing away. I actually got a little bit mad that not only she went to the pet psychic once, but she went 2 or 3 times. I did appreciate that she had moments of, all right, I know this is silly, but I am desperate and I'm going to see what I can find out here. So I'm glad that she recognizes it and that maybe she shouldn't have done that. I was kind of disappointed when we finally figure out what happened to the cat, because you do find out. I'm not going to say because I don't want to spoil it for people. It was a little bit of a letdown. I enjoyed this, wasn't enamored, so I rated this 3 out of 5 stars. This was read a book with a map in it, so that's Prancer, so that was 15 points. Later this week, I then picked up the Lucy Knisley comic books that I wanted to read. This was Displacement, which was a sequel to Age of License. Had to think about that for a second. Age of License, where she went on this whirlwind trip to Europe, where she was able to, have this tour de fair, and she was able to experience Europe from a very cool perspective. And this was definitely the complete opposite. Her aging grandparents, one has dementia, and I don't know how sickly the grandfather is, because I know the grandmother has dementia. They're both living in this living facility, and they sign up to take this cruise with their community, and the family doesn't feel comfortable with them just going by themselves with this group. And so Lucy had volunteered to go with them. She wanted to really use this trip as a way to get closer to her grandparents, because she knows as they're aging, there's less time that she has with them. Not gonna lie, I was stressed out by certain moments in this. Going on vacation as a caretaker, you're not on vacation. You're just working in a very nice location. I did appreciate that intertwined the difference, vacation days. She was reading kind of this book that her grandfather had written about his time in Europe during the Second World War, and it would interchange from her spending the day with her grandparents to at night reading about his story. So I liked the juxtaposition of the grandfather as we see him now versus when he was younger. As always, I fully enjoyed her art style, and I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. That was Dancer, so that was at 10 points. Alrighty, so this originally was meant for Rudolph, but I read something else, and so I read this for Rudolph, and after reading this next one, I was like, wait, I'm going to have to rearrange things. So I read this for Blitzen instead. Our main character is Jen. She was originally from the city. Her parents got divorced, and now she's moved to this farm in upstate New York. It is very similar to Lucy's own childhood because she had said in Relish that that's what had happened. And it's funny, if you look at the characters, they look like the people that she's grown up with. Like, Jen looks like Lucy. The mom looks like Lucy's mom. And this transition was really tough for her. I can see that it was really tough for her. Not only was our main character transitioning from city life to country life, but her stepdad has a couple of daughters, and on the weekends the daughters visit, and the older daughter is the same age as Jen, and they're obviously very different people. So that was definitely the struggle there of trying to connect and understand this other person. So this was, in fact, chock full of internal struggles. So this was really easy to have for Blitzen. I enjoyed this. I think I want to say I rated this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads as well. I really enjoy Lucy Knisley's work. And this was 20 points, I believe. Yeah, this was 20 points. All right, so here is the Rogue book from my TBR. This wasn't in my original TBR, but I saw it on the shelf at work. No, I lie. I'm lying. I was working in the back room where people drop books off through the return slot, and someone had returned this, and I saw the title, and I had to have it. The Lodka Who Couldn't Stop Screaming, A Christmas Story. This was written by Lemony Snicket. If you're not familiar with who he is as an author, he was the one that wrote the series An Unfortunate Events. And I really like this guy's style of writing. Granted, I haven't read anything of his other than An Unfortunate series, but I knew this would be kind of on the dark side with a humorous perspective. I'm like, I have to read this. Basically, this little latke he's created, and as he's being dropped into a pan of oil to be cooked, he starts screaming and then he runs off. And then he meets all these different Christmas kind of characters. So after he's born, he runs off screaming and he meets a string of lights. And the string of lights are basically, wait, what are you? Latka explains, and the Christmas lights, oh, so you're basically hash browns. No, that is incorrect. Runs off, continues screaming. Then he meets a candy cane, and the candy cane hears his story, and the candy cane goes, well, someone should make a carol about you. I'm not part of Christmas, continues screaming, runs off. And then he meets a Christmas tree, or rather just a pine tree in the forest. So yes, he meets all these different characters, but the overall story is that it is frustrating not to be understood in the world that you're currently in. Being told that you're something that you're not, or not being validated, or not being understood, can make you want to scream. So overall, I thought the idea of the story was very cute and relatable, but the way it was written was incredibly funny. I think this is the funniest thing I've read all year. There was literally just pages, 3 pages in a row at the very least, of this Laka just screaming. I want to buy this. I love this so much. I rated this a full 5 stars. And because of what the idea of the story was, I figured it would be able to count for Rudolph not being able to fit in, which was worth 20 points. So at this point, I have 105 points, including Vixen. So I have 105 points now for this readathon, far more than I thought I would. I still want to read the one that has read something hidden within the book, which I have the Father Christmas letters for. Was able to find that. So I am going to read that eventually this week. I don't see me being able to finish A Promised Land. I don't think that's happening whatsoever. But reading-wise, this week was super successful, despite me not really vlogging this week. I know there's a lot of information to talk about in one go. It is Christmas Eve, so I do need to go. I still have to wrap presents, and I still I don't have to make dinner. My husband has offered to, but I very much would like to get dinner started. So yeah, that was part 2 for this readathon, and let me know your thoughts on some of these books. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I guess it's ta-ta for now. Happy holidays.